This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
For over, maybe 2 years, the Jedi were the guardians of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in the Old Republic. Before the dark times. Before Scientific American. This evil cabal of scientists systematically hunted down and scattered all the Jedi enclaves into problematic irrelevancy. Yet some remained, waiting for the time to rise once more and bring justice and diversity back to the universe. And now, the Jedi of the planet Lewisville in the Lone Star Galaxy are making themselves known. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Stream, the stream I do on Sundays, because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. It is actually kind of nice out right now. It's got that kind of sort of like slightly overcast, kind of soft light thing going on across the world. But yes, welcome to Sunday. Happy Easter to those of you that celebrate Easter. If you don't celebrate Easter, okay, find a chocolate egg somewhere anyway. Yummy, yummy chocolate. Bite off some bunny ears, like chocolate bunny ears. Not real bunny ears, although, you know, Sister Scribe would probably appreciate that because Sister Scribe hates bunnies. They like hiss at her. They hate her. They bite her. So bunnies don't like her, and she doesn't like bunnies. Just a little anecdote for the sake of things. Anyway, who's joining me on this beautiful Sunday morning as we return to the wonderful world of Jedi? Why that would be, let me get to the top of the list here. Keeverdam, thank you so much, Keeverdam, and always for providing the links to the GoFundMes at the top of the chat box for our friends Moonshock, Natalie, Angela Ariaga, James Colley, and Rhonda. If you guys can take a look at those fundraisers when you have the opportunity, please do so. If you can donate, please do so. If you can't donate, that's fine. But if you can, share those out on social media. That would be very much appreciated. So thank you so much for that ahead of time. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always. Noah Essentio, good morning. Advocatus Diabli, good morning. Mike R., good morning. Bold Sign, good morning. What's this? Random to bring up. Saw a guy in a Batman costume riding a motorcycle with a bat symbol on the front of it. Saw this guy on the freeway yesterday. Well, it's obviously Batman fighting crime. Right? If you see it, you can believe it, right? Kiro Soldier, good morning. Shadowclaw, did I already say good morning, Shadowclaw? No, Shadowclaw, good morning. Matthew James, good morning. Who else is here? Sabian187, good morning. Non-Vitae Rex, good morning. Ercole Di Stefano, good morning. The Best Remy, good morning. Chicago Mike, ooh, I like the new avatar. That's very fitting. That works. That works. Hi, Chicago Mike. Hope you're having a good day. Tall Person, good morning. Who else is here? Robert Pincus, good morning. Johnny Hellcat, good morning. And to anybody else that I missed or is lurking or is in the future, good morning. Yes, so I came across this yesterday or the day before, and I was shocked, I tell you, to see an actual government-sponsored Jedi Council. Yes, everyone, we have the Jedi Council of Lewisville, Texas, of all places, Texas, to have a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion council with goals and things. Oh my gosh. You know, for the last several years, many people have been fleeing, I tell you, places like California and Oregon and such for the safer territory of Texas, for its lack of oppressive, progressive policies, or passive progressive policies, as I've heard before. But yet, even in the enclave of Texas, we have a group of Jedi. Now, for those of you that don't know, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion as a new moniker for the whole DEI movement was very popular a couple of years ago. But as I showed a little bit there, then all of a sudden, back in 2021, a article from, of all places, Scientific American came out, and they were like, dudes, Jedi's like totally problematic for like justice work. So like you need to like stop that because it's like totally corporate and like we don't want to be associated with those nerds or something. It was a funny article at the time. And I think the reason why Jedi fell out of favor as a new way to express the whole DEI thing is, one, the Scientific American thing, and suddenly it's like not cool and it's like too corporate and such, which, I mean, it's kind of hard to escape. If you call yourself Jedi, it's kind of hard to differentiate between that and a whole bunch of other things. But also, I think part of it is because the primary driver for the entire thing, diversity, was no longer centered in the conversation around Jedi. Because DEI, it all starts with diversity. If you don't start with diversity, if diversity is not the bedrock on which you are moving through the world and changing the world, then it's not really diversity work. But anyway, I saw this, a 2024 City Council retreat. And during the course of this retreat, which is a much, much longer presentation, but for this section, they're covering their justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion goals in the town of Lewisville. So I thought we'd listen to this section. It's only about half an hour long, so we should be able to get through the whole thing in the usual hour and a half of real time that I go through. So let's find out what goes on at again, this is a city. This is not like some, nonprofit organization or something. This is a city within a county, within a state, within the United States of America, a government talking about JEDI. I can't wait to hear if they have any questionable practices in city government they'd like to tell us about. But before we begin, any other hellos here? You're Ridiculous Lunatic. Good morning. And I think that's everybody I see. Again, if I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good morning. All right, start off with a few seconds for a sound test. This one, actually, I didn't have to do much to the sound. It's pretty good sound quality. So hopefully it comes through clean. And let's find out about the Jedi Council of Lewisville, Texas.
Thank you, sir. So Tad Phillips, HR Director. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Tad Phillips, HR Director. You guys hear that okay? Let me know in the chat real quick. Tier Alexander, the Gentleman Lich. Good morning to you. And Dixieverse63, good morning to you. Did I already say hello to Ryan R? Ryan R, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Let's see. I hear it, but I don't see a single lightsaber. Well, I mean, they're letting themselves be known, but they can't like be too overt about it, or else, Scientific American might come and get them.
I'm going to tag team this with the infamous James Kunke.
Infamous? Uh-oh.
And so over the next few slides, what we're going to do is first off, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion encompasses, it stems from the Mayor's Commission, Listen, Learn, Lead, and it encompasses initiatives that are both internal and community focused. And so I'm going to walk through some of the employee-based internal actions that we've taken.
Employee-based, you say? Ooh, tell me about employment in the city of Lewisville under a Jedi philosophy.
Walk through our dashboard. James is going to share some of our accomplishments and activities with the greater community, and then I'll close out with a look ahead and get y'all's feedback. Feel free to interrupt us throughout, though. So this next slide is a look internally. So what have we been doing internally?
Oh, boy.
So as I said, the Mayor's Commission, Listen, Learn, Lead established a variety of things. One of those is internally it established an internal racial equity and diversity team comprised of city staff to promote diversity within the organization through special events and education.
Oh, okay. Racial equity and diversity team. And I just have to ask, upon what criteria did you select the members of this team? Anything in particular that qualified them or disqualified them?
Starting early in 2024, we reframed our diversity program to be more inclusive and representative of all. And so one example is we're going to be highlighting in April that April is Neurodiversity Month.
Neurodiversity Month. Okay.
And so we're broadening our look. We're also adding a focus within this team on belonging. So adding belonging to the list.
Wait. Belonging. Then you're like a JEDIB or maybe just YEB. Maybe you're just a JEB. Why don't you leave out like the D and the I and just become a JEB? You can be like YEB. Remember YEB? Please clap. All right. So, well, wait. DEI and B. Wait, if you're not okay, either call yourself Debbie or call yourself Jedi. You can't be both. It doesn't make any sense. And also, declaring April as Neurodiversity Month. What does that mean? What does that do? It really feels just like window dressing, doesn't it?
So why belonging? Inclusion, equity, and diversity all relate to the actions an employer takes to help bring about a feeling of belonging for its employees.
No, it refers to the actions that employers take to discriminate on the basis of race and gender, primarily in hiring decisions in order to, fill out diversity quota requirements for ESG requirements or HR or just doing a PR thing to show how progressive you are. That's primarily it. But okay, tell me more about belonging as though it were a brand new concept.
Well, there are many definitions of what belonging means. It might simply be understood as having the same feeling at work as you do in a personal setting with friends where you feel comfortable to be there.
Professional distance. I don't think that work and casual social gatherings should have the same vibe. Again, it all depends on the different workplaces and different, different environments have different things. But generally speaking, there should be some professional distance because it's a job. It is not a family. I know you might feel it's a family, and I know that sometimes maybe you can get along like a family if everything clicks. But eventually, if somebody has to be fired, somebody gets outside the lines or something, it becomes a job real quick. And if you blur the line between that understanding from one setting to another, I think you're asking more for problems than you are for solutions to things.
To share your opinions, to feel truly cared about and accepted, and not afraid to be yourself. You belong. A workplace that is truly diverse, equitable, and inclusive can create a higher sense of belonging for employees, which results in better work performance and better retention, which ties to one of our other focus areas.
Does it, though? I've been told that over and over again over the years, but rarely have I been shown any evidence that work performance, innovation, profit margin, retention actually increases because of a DEI initiative.
An example of an inclusive culture that results in feeling belonging is where, for example, employees are not only able to share individual perspectives and ideas, but also are encouraged to do so and are recognized for their contributions.
My company has a weekly status meeting where everybody goes around and they have to tell what they're up to and everything else. Whether it takes you 3 minutes or 20 minutes to say what you've been up to and what's going on, everybody takes their turn. It's very simple. Doesn't require anything dealing with diversity.
So that's one addition, is bringing belonging into our DE and I work, now DEI and B. This year, staff identified opportunity for this important DEI and B work to more closely tie in with our broader culture building activities that were previously conducted under our internal way team. So our internal way team has been focused on internal events and activities.
Such as?
But what we identified was we had this separate committee off on the side specifically focused on DE and I. And what we identified was there's better alignment if we bring the two teams together and unite them under the way team. And we believe that is useful for a variety of reasons, so that we can be sure to develop a sense of belonging across the organization through our events, education activities, and so forth. So that's an endeavor that's underway right now.
I'm sure it's a very complicated endeavor to. Okay, just for those of you listening at home, he keeps having this slide up, and so I'm just going to go over the slide real quick. Off to the top left-hand corner, there's basically an ad for a podcast. A podcast I might have to check out at some point, maybe. The Power of Difference, just Power of Difference pod, You see, podcast. Brought to you by The Way Team. And when he was saying it earlier, I thought he was saying the Away Team, like a Star Trek reference, but no, The Way Team. What does Way stand for? No idea. But yeah, it's available on Spotify, Apple Music, and all common podcast platforms. And then the slide itself says justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, even though we're talking about Debbie primarily. They list that off. I don't know where justice comes into this. So yeah, bullet points down here. Reframed and refreshed the race, equity, and diversity program as diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Because adding B makes everything more better. To reflect the wide range of diversity within Team Lewisville. Not quite sure how that does that, but magic. Number 2, enhance the DEI and B internal focus on culture building as part of the Way Team, whatever that is. Number 3, launched quarterly Power of Difference podcast. Okay, and this, without knowing anything else, I'm assuming all of this is being funded by the taxpayer money and the people of Lewisville. I'm assuming. Number 4, creation of a baseline measure to gauge DEI and B sentiment through employee survey, which will be measured annually. Okay. Hey there, coworker pal. Do you feel belonged here? Okay. And lastly, awarded 2023 North Texas Diversity First Corporate Leadership Award for recruitment process. I would love to know, if he decides to detail it, how they qualified for winning the recruitment process award. What exactly is their recruitment process within a diversity first philosophy?
We've also launched our Power of Difference podcast. Really appreciate Claire and Shantae were guinea pigs for our first episode. Shout out to Chris Chastain out of our Parks and Recreation team. He's an excellent host of our first quarterly podcast. We have our second podcast episode that is lined up to be delivered to employees probably early June, and that's gonna be an educational one on the Juneteenth holiday.
Oh, goody! That's right. I for some reason I'd forgotten about Juneteenth.
As we approach the celebration of our first Juneteenth holiday, thanks to City Council's approval back in the fall for the city as an observed holiday.
Oh, good.
Let's see. So the next thing I want to focus on here is we initiated an employee engagement survey through Gallup back in February. I'll talk a little bit about that more at another initiative, but I bring it up here to say we purposely included within that employee engagement survey a variety of questions that tie into this topical area.
Please give us some examples. What were you interrogating your employees about when it comes to race and gender and ethnicity and so on?
So through that, we can establish a baseline of sentiment around belonging, around DEI.
What if the baseline sentiment is, please get rid of this garbage? What happens then? What if everybody was just like, no? How about no? I wonder what you would do.
Et cetera, and use that as a measure in the future as we go back to resurvey and a basis for us to design activities and programs so that then we can go back and remeasure that in future years and identify our progress around this area.
How do you measure progress? I always want to know. I hope they get to some percentages or something.
And then last, internally, really proud of the work that this team has done in the years leading up to before even I was here, was on the employment side. We were recognized by the North Texas Diversity Council a few months ago, the Corporate Leadership Award, and that was because of our recruitment process. And just to recap what that is, coming out of Listen, Learn, and Lead, what we do in order to minimize hiring hidden bias is our hiring supervisors, when they initially review job applications, they cannot see names. The names are hidden.
The names are hidden. Okay. So sort of like blind recruitment. All right. Chicago Mike, thank you so much. Scribe, new t-shirt idea. Your avatar with the words such as written next to it. Oh, that's true. That's true. At this point, in my originating days, the the stinger I always put on things when I was scripting stuff. When I was trying to understand what someone was saying, I just, reframe it in some way, shape, or form, and then just say, got it. And that was sort of my catch line. In the live streams, that doesn't come up as much. It really doesn't come up as much. That's more of a planned thing when I'm writing a script or something. But yeah, at this point, such as, that might be the next generation. Maybe I should just change my my avatar overall. I don't know. I kind of like it the way it is. But yeah, this a t-shirt idea. Yeah, by the way, I do have t-shirts. I don't have, I almost never mention I have a merch store. It's just such an afterthought. But yes, there's a link to my merch store in the description. I have one of my TED Excellence coffee mugs. It's pretty good. It turned out really good. I really like it. Holy cats! What the? Okay. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Good idea. I'll think about it. But Brett-eyed, am here. Is that a reference to I have no mouth, but I must scream? Probably not. But Brett, thank you. Holy cow. That is, as always, ridiculously generous. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Stoka. Thank you, Brett-eyed. Do you have something you'd like to plug, Brett? Shill out or whatever. I haven't done custom ads on my streams or on shows in a long time, but I feel as though this amount of generosity, if you have something in particular you'd like me to talk about or do otherwise, I'm happy to take a request. That's just ridiculous. And again, to Brett and Derek LaRue and everybody else on the interview stream I did earlier this week with Gary Cassell. The amount of generosity there was just ridiculous. Ridiculous in a good way. Apologies. But yeah, Brett, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Plug your coffee mugs, he says. Hold on, let me pull that up. Okay, well, I have a couple of coffee mugs in the queue. I have a sort of a Scribe Light mug that just sort of like Scribe Light with the logo. And then there's a TED Excellence mug that's got TED Excellence on one side and my logo on the other. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was, and I apologize if my memory is a little bit fuzzy on this after this amount of time. I think it was actually Brett who encouraged me to make a TED Excellence mug, or that I reviewed the design with him on that one. So, and also there's a Scribe Light t-shirt, like a full-fledged, full-body Scribe Light t-shirt with Wander Above the Sea Fog on one side and then my avatar on the other, back to front kind of thing. My mother owns one of those shirts. She specifically bought one of those shirts. She has it hung up in her closet. And the last couple times I've visited, she always like, oh yeah, you remember I got this shirt? Yeah, so my Mama Scribe owns one of those shirts, which I'm very much appreciative of. But yes, so there you go. Thank you, Brett, very much. I will endeavor to pay that forward. And yes, I do have a merch store. Also, Gen T Maxi. Good morning. Can I put a subscribe to Brett on my Pal World signs for a stream if you want? Sure. Is that a thing you can do in Pal World? I've never played Pal World. I know everybody's excited about Pal World. I've never really gotten into, well, strangely enough, the one MMO that I spent the most time and money on was SWTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic, until it became such an absolute garbage pile of microtransactions that I just gave up on it. But anyway, that's all aside. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate it. Let's get back to the Jedi Council of Lewisville, Texas.
During their screening process of candidates. Only after they have reviewed qualifications of candidates and identify ones that they want to have identified as their smaller, narrowed list do they ever see a name.
Okay, so you, in the interview or the initial employment process, you don't look at names. All right, so you're just looking at someone's merit. That's good. That's great for the initial process. Okay. But I have to ask, given that you are some variant of DEI, because you're not just you're Jedi, but you're also DEI, but then you're also Debbie. So whatever. Once you get to the actual interview process, once you see the person in front of you, how do you then ensure diversity.
Then once they look at those candidates, before they bring them in face-to-face, they also do a phone interview. So there's no visuals on the candidate before they narrow it down to the relatively smaller group that they bring face-to-face.
Okay, I guess. Although I have been told that voice and accent and intonation can spur bias.
And so we've been doing this for the last few years. I would say it's not something every employer out there is doing, and really proud that the North Texas Diversity Council saw fit to recognize us for that. Just an anecdote on that as well. I was talking to a consultant just a couple of weeks ago, and we were actually going through and looking at our current recruitment process for ways in which we can make it better for the workforce. But this consultant who works in another state said, "I love that you all do this. I see very few employers that do that."
Wow, great. So how has that led to your diversity goals, right? I mean, you have on the card here, it says justice, equity, diversity, inclusion goals, and yet these aren't goals. These are things that you've already done. And how do you measure success? Unless, and I'd be happy if this were the case, unless Lewisville is completely redefining justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, etc., into things that are actually positive and actually meritorious. I'd be amazed if that were the case, but I'd be happy if it were so. I'd also wonder who didn't get the memo, but okay.
Yes, sir.
Ted, do we have any measures of impact?
Yeah, let's get to it. Yeah, let's talk about numbers. Tell me about numbers.
Of what that's done or what that's changed?
It's a great segue into the next slide.
Yes.
Glad you asked.
Boy.
I'll getting to.
Yeah. Hey, everybody! Look at how pure we are. We don't look at names. We make sure that there's no visual bias about who we're going to hire. It's all about merit. Now, let me tell you about the results of our efforts, broken down on the basis of race.
To that question, another piece of what came out of Listen, Learn, Lead is that Human Resources provides annual reporting, and we do want better than that. So I am giving you your annual report right now, but thanks to our friends with the ITS team, we also do consistent, continuous reporting on our website, on the HR page of our website for hiring, promotion, demographics. And so that's what this report is showing. Is this is a snapshot in time. They may look slightly different if you went on the website today, but as of March 13th. What this is showing, and you showed you all some similar data last year, don't expect you to specifically remember it. What you see on the top chart is a focus on what are the demographics of our residents.
Yes. All right. So I have to pause occasionally for YouTube's sake. So for those of you listening at home, we have a slide with two charts and a list of bullet points. Chart number 1 says Lewisville residents and employee demographics. So you have two bars next to each other. You have the number of residents of Lewisville based on race, and then next to that you have the number of employees of that same race. Then below that you have employee demographic trends, and because of the cutoff of the video, I'm not quite sure. I can't see for sure what the different colors represent. There's 4 different bars. As soon as I unpause the thing, I'll be able to see it better. And then you have a list of bullet points. So I'll let him go over the whys and the wherefores of it all.
In Lewisville, and then what are the demographics of our employee base? And then on the bottom, it's looking at, and so you see some differences there, some differences that are long-standing. I will say, if I looked at the same chart a year ago to today, we more closely resemble our community today than we did a year ago, but it's small incremental improvements.
Okay, so the implication there being that they are attempting to have their employee demographic split better match the residential demographics based exclusively on race. Okay? All right. And yeah, the employee demographic trends on the second chart, yeah, the different colors represent different racial demographics. So there you go.
Or changes. And then on the bottom, employee demographic trends, that's again showing the same employee base on the left, but then we go to what have our hires and our promotions look like over the last 12 months. And so we continue to see a trend in both cases. You see more diverse results in both our hires in the last 12 months and our promotions in the last 12 months in relation to our overall employee population.
Okay, so again, even though I thought for a very brief moment, that something else was going on when they're talking about their blind hiring process, ultimately their goals resolve down to exclusively race. Yeah, that's diversity. I'm no longer optimistic.
So did that answer your question, Mayor? I want to go back to your question, make sure I covered it.
Yeah, it gets me there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Before I move on, y'all have any questions on this slide? If not, I'll keep going.
Yeah, I got a question for you. I mean, you haven't quite said it yet, but the fact that you're setting goals and percentages and implying, demographic parity seems to be the overriding goal. Isn't the only mechanism by which you can achieve such a goal racial discrimination in employment practices? And if so, doesn't that, and I'll be diplomatic here, doesn't that tread the line of legality for a governmental body in the United States? I just wondering.
Okay, so that rounds out internal focus. Now I'll pass it over to James, and James will talk about, here, I'll give it to you here, community.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Ted. There we go. Mayor and Council, much of our Jedi initiative.
Whoa. Hold on. You went over that last slide way too quick. Hold on. Let me go back. All right. So just to make sure we're on this. So the graphs, as far as I can tell here, Lewisville residents and employee demographics. The white population of Lewisville is 37.1%. And yet, the employee base of Lewisville, I'm guessing city government, is 67.1%. So, effectively, we'll just say for the sake of argument, double representation of the actual residents of Lewisville. Then, Hispanic or Latino, the residents make up 29.5%. while the employees make up only 17.4%. Next in line, Black or African American, 14.5% residency, 8.6% employee representation. Then we have Asian population. There's 14% Asians in the city, but only 3.2% representation. And lastly, other race, 4.9% and 3.7%. So, yeah, I mean, those numbers are obviously, they're bad. They're bad, right? And then you have employee demographic trends, and this is hires in the last 12 months, promotions in the last 12 months, and so on. And you've got the white employees are far overly represented, but might also be, reflective of the actual demographics within employees. And then you have Hispanic, Black, Asian, and other. And it all goes in a descending line. All right. So it's white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, and other races as far as employees or promotions in the last year. And then their bullet points say the human resources provides an annual report to the city council analyzing demographic data related to new hires, promotions, and total workforce. Number 2, data provided as of March 13th, 2024. Number 3, the report is posted on the city's website for transparency and accountability with continuous data updates. And lastly, the URL for the report on a slideshow thing. So I guess just for reference, because nobody can click on it or anything. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. I'm just going to talk about community or something.
James will talk about, here, I'll give it to you here, community.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Tad. There we go. Mayor and Council, much of our Jedi initiative is focused internally, but we also have the privilege to serve a community that celebrates a very rich cultural diversity. And so we have to be aware of that and contribute to that through Jedi initiatives that reach into our community. I like the word that Tad and his team and the city team has added of belonging.
Boy, you guys live in a bubble. Belonging is not a new concept in this entire deal. It's been around for a few years. I've done more than a couple of videos. It still doesn't make any sense.
Human beings throughout history have craved a sense of belonging.
You don't say. Maslow's triangle.
We want to belong in our family. We want to belong in our church. We want to belong in the workplace. Ideally, we want to belong in the place where we live. Several of you joined us when we dedicated the Lung Thong sculpture at Central Park in December. And one of our speakers was representing the Chin community.
As an elected position?
And he talked about how they were looking for a home and they didn't know where Texas was, certainly not where Lewisville was, but they found a home in Lewisville, Texas. That's a sense of belonging.
Okay.
And so our challenge is how can we get as many residents as possible to feel that way about Lewisville?
I don't know. How do you get to the point where you can control people's emotions?
So we've done some external activities, and this highlights them. There's certainly more. It's small type because I'm verbose.
It's small type because you're verbose. Oh, so you wrote this. Okay.
But we start with the Lung Thong, which is a sculpture out of Central Park. And that really was the culmination, the latest highlight, if you will, because it's not over, the latest highlight of our ongoing outreach with the Chin community. 5,000 residents, used to be 5% of our population. Then we annexed Castle Hills. So now they're around 3.5%, but still a sizable group. And we had to overcome language challenges and cultural challenges to reach out to them and make connections, personal connections. That has worked extremely well. There's still work to be done. We're working on it every single day, but putting the sculpture in was a huge achievement toward that. And
okay, I'll just ask why. I mean, what to what end? Why was this necessary? If you're going to welcome somebody in, sure, you can recognize where they came from, but they're coming there for Lewisville, right? So what's Lewisville's culture that you're then going to include them in, rather than like highlight their differences in that way? I don't know. I guess I don't really understand. Well, my first question is how much money was spent on this sizable sculpture? I mean, this looks like this was not a fly-by-night endeavor. This is a giant piece of stone that was carved in a very specific shape. How much money was spent on this? And what is the... I mean, don't get me wrong. I can see spending money on culture and the arts without necessarily a high-priced return. I'm not completely capitalist in that way. But what was the thinking behind this? What was this meant to achieve?
And while we don't do things to be recognized, it's nice when we are recognized.
I think you do things to be recognized. I think there's more than a little bit of virtue signaling. Please look at us and look how progressive we are in this. I don't feel this is entirely selfless.
And the project for the Lung Thong sculpture was recognized by the National League of Cities a couple of weeks ago with the City Cultural Diversity Award. First place in our population bracket of 50,000 to 200,000. That is this spiky weapon-looking thing that is in front of me. We're very pleased because, again, one city in our bracket, this is a big bracket, and we're not at the top of it. And NLC chose us to be recognized for that Lung Thong project and the associated Chin outreach.
Again, I'd be curious to know how much of taxpayer money was spent on that and what was the intended purpose of doing so.
Juneteenth is something that we've recognized with events in the past, but not highlighted the past few years, partly as a result of Listen, Learn, Lead. We've really emphasized Juneteenth. We have 2 or 3 events each year, and we have had tremendous attendance for that. The Healthy Infrastructure Plan that you've seen a couple of times since it was adopted March of last year, it has an equity index so that when we are doing park projects, it's not just where it's convenient for us or where land is available, but where it's going to have the greatest impact, especially on populations that maybe don't currently have that opportunity.
What opportunity? To go to a public park? What populations don't have an opportunity to go to a public park? Did I hear that correctly?
So that was an important factor in the Healthy Infrastructure Plan, and the Blue Ribbon Committee did the same. When they were prioritizing projects, they considered what is the community impact. We know what the impact is for the city. We know the cost. We know what it would take, but what's going to have a bigger benefit on the people who live in our community? What's going to help them feel as if they belong and have a place here?
So all of this is emotional pandering. The statue, the equity index, the project prioritization, this is all for emotional pandering. Okay.
Translation, we have translated documents into Spanish since before I got here, and I've been here a very, very, very long time.
In Texas, you say? Wow.
But there was a time when we did not translate many documents. It was a very slow process, a very regimented process. And a few years ago, we realized we were not serving our population well by doing that. So in some case, there's a minor cost, not a big one, because fortunately we have a lot of resources in-house, but we do a lot more translation of materials into Spanish.
There's also like electronic options now that can pretty much do it for you. I mean, they have to be proofed afterwards, certainly, but a lot of the labor of translation can be done electronically. But then I'm sure there are plenty of small counties in Texas, because there's a lot of counties in Texas and a lot of cities therein that are still moving into the 20th century in their record-keeping processes,
including routine forms and documents. One thing that's not specifically mentioned here, but we do a food handlers class in Spanish, and it is well attended and successful and has helped with our food safety for all the people that eat in restaurants. So they are benefiting from this class even though they don't attend it.
Okay.
Our resident satisfaction survey is attributed in Spanish. Now, we're not getting many Spanish responses yet, fewer.
Okay, why not? Why not? I mean, the second largest population of your town is Hispanic.
Than 50 last time, but the number has grown each of the past 3 surveys. So the more we promote it, the more people will participate. Coming out of Listen, Learn, Lead, they did ask that we make a goal that our performers at concerts in the festival, they didn't say the grand, they said at the festivals, 30% of those be fronted by a woman or person of color.
Hey, finally, we get to a quota, a percentile quota. Not exactly about employment, right? It's all about a presentation about an activity and stuff, but all the same. All right, so here's our first raw example of we're going to discriminate on who has an opportunity to perform publicly on the basis of their gender and or their race. If you do not fit that, you might be left behind. You know, because it's just suggestion. 30%. You know, at least 30% have to be this or that or the other. You know, so 70% can do whatever you want. But okay, and how has that process gone?
And that can be challenging sometimes.
Why?
Especially women fronted for some reason in this market can be hard to find.
Women. Okay, why? There should be plenty of female performers out there, right? What exactly was this event again?
But we've done it, and each of the past 2 years, we've been more than 50% of bands fronted by a female or person of color. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, I misheard. Bands fronted by females or persons of color, and you've actually exceeded the quota goal to 50%. Wow, 50%. So you intentionally sought out bands to perform at this event and selected them on the basis of the race and or gender of the front person, the lead singer, whatever you want to call them. All right. I mean that's right up there with people looking for vendors or contract partners based on the race and or gender of the owners. All right. So if the front person of a band is the correct look for you, they are a more desirable get for your concert series. All right. Well, thanks for that.
So we have hit that mark and exceeded it, and we intend to continue doing so. And then finally, obviously, we have to think about the Latino market.
The Latino market. I mean, I like it when, the whole capitalism thing comes through when you're talking about racial benefits. Yeah. So how much is the Latino market worth to you?
We are, according to the census, 30% Latino. We do believe there was an undercount. So we're probably closer to 34, 35% based on what we know. And while we include, say, a Latin band at Western Days or things like that, we didn't have a dedicated celebration. Cinco de Mayo does a big one. We had a community one that did not survive after we had a few health issues.
I wonder if that has anything to do with alcohol. Is Cinco de Mayo, isn't that more of a big American thing? I seem to recall having talked to I have a friend in Mexico, and I believe I talked to them at one point and asked, is Cinco de Mayo a big deal in Mexico? And I thought the answer was no. I thought that was more of like an Americanized, adopted kind of thing that's more American than it is actually celebrated in Latin countries or Spanish-speaking countries. But, okay, yeah, you're Cinco de Mayo.
Swine flu, if you'll remember that one.
Oh!
Back when bad diseases lasted 2 weeks instead of for the rest of our lives.
Well, this last one could have lasted 2 weeks if everybody hadn't lost their frickin' minds. But, hindsight is only 20/20, except for people who are using some logic and critical thinking at the time, but couldn't overcome the wave of insanity.
But Fiesta Chara was started a few years ago, and it's a celebration of Latino culture. It is a charreada. That's a traditional Mexican rodeo that's focused more on horsemanship and showmanship than can you hang on.
Well, then it's not really I guess it's still a rodeo, sort of, but still, if you don't have the 8 seconds on the bull or the horse, then what's the point?
So it's kind of like dancing horses, and I love dancing horses.
I love dancy horses.
But with colorful attire also. And the attendance has grown each of the past 3 years. And what we really like, we were at 2,400 last year. So it's not a big event. It's at the rodeo grounds. Frankly, anything more than about 4,000 probably outgrows that space. 2,400 is a pretty comfortable number. But the vendors told us that this past year, they saw an increase in the percentage of non-Latino attendees, which we think is important because part of the celebration is to celebrate the Latino culture, but it's also to expose the other 65 to 70% of the population to the wonderful sounds and tastes and colors of that culture.
Great. All right. Well, Alan Thyler, thank you so much for the Samurai #1 Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat.
Wowie, wow.
Oh, there's a P-Dog Night Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Alan. It's very generous of you. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Sunday morning and hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, so a rodeo to expose people to Latino culture. Okay. Thankfully, more people started attending other than just the 2,400 ahead of time. All right. Great. And
so that, again, it increases the sense of belonging and interaction with all of our residents.
Do you have a, I don't know, what's your Polish population or your German population? Origins wise, or maybe Lithuanian or something. I mean, do you do any events for any other cultures? Just assuming that somebody who looks Latino is going to identify with Latino culture from other countries. I suppose that's one way to look at it. I mean, what other cultural events do you have for other, nationalities, let's say?
So we have a whole lot of arms reaching out into the community to various populations, and we do expect that's going to not only continue but likely expand as we embrace the fact that we are a minority-majority community.
A minority-majority community. Okay. Belonging again, right? Okay.
We are diverse, and we love it, and it benefits us all.
So how?
My own opinion.
No. This is the city's opinion. This is the official line from city government. It's not just your opinion. You guys are there as a governmental body.
Any questions on this slide before I pass back to Tad? All right.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I'd like to know what, we've left the whole segment as far as racial out up there, and that's our American Indian. That's our American Native.
Oh, yes. Why have you guys left out Native Americans from your consideration? I mean, I assume they're just included in the other category at the end there. All right. What about Native Americans? Why have you guys discriminated against and dismissed Native Americans?
True. And it's a relatively small part of the population.
But you're a minority-majority community. Why aren't you highlighting every minority explicitly?
But a culture that in this area predates all of us.
Yeah. So?
Absolutely.
By about, 15,000 years. So we do include the indigenous ace dancers at Western Days, one of the most popular things.
Wait. So you have a subsection of a larger event for the Native Americans. Okay.
We've looked into doing a specific event, a Native American powwow. It's a big cost issue.
Oh, it's a big cost, but a giant statue commissioned is fine. A yearly rodeo is fine, but you got no money for Native Americans. Oh, okay.
But with the groups we've been talking to, we've told them if you can bring money to the table.
Oh, if they can bring, okay, well then where did the funding for the statue come from? And I honestly don't know. They never said. Who funded the statue? Who funds the rodeo every year? Where's the money coming from for all these other events? All right, so the outside group has to pay for it, and then the city will what? Just give the event space, I suppose.
We might be able to match it and make it happen.
Oh, okay.
And they're still talking to us. They're still interested in doing that, but at this time, we don't have a firm proposal. So we'll talk to them again before budget season to see if it's a request we make. But if they're not able to commit, it's $100,000 to $120,000 to put on the whole event.
$120,000. Holy cats! All right, so they got to pony up at least $60,000, and then the city will match that.
And that just exceeds our available resources.
I'd also like for diversity to actually be diversity in this, and that is all abilities.
Yes.
All abilities? What? You mean like like tap dancing and basket weaving, and or are you talking about like disabilities? What do you mean?
Yes. And to clarify, I talked a lot about Latino and Chin, which are all cultural diversity.
Yeah.
We also have tremendous diversity in Lewisville, economic diversity.
Economic diversity? Oh, well, how much does the economic benefit of each individual resident swing? What's your economic diversity? Some people are rich and some people aren't.
We have diversity in terms of we don't leave out people.
You don't leave out people. Okay. I mean, unless they can pony up, tens of thousands of dollars, I suppose.
If you go to our events, they're all accessible, and we go out of our way to make sure they stay that way.
Oh, that kind of, okay.
And then I know PARD has some great plans coming forward as well with, assuming voters approve it, with the new park and athletic field down at Vista Ridge. So absolutely, we don't want to ignore those populations.
Well, I mean, by federal law, I don't think you're allowed to, right? I mean, the Americans with Disabilities Act kind of covers a lot of that stuff. So not quite sure what the lady was trying to imply there. Unless, of course, Lewisville has somehow been in rampant violation of federal law up to this point, and only now are they getting around to it. I don't understand.
Sometimes it's hard since they're not as cohesive. It can be difficult to do. So we include as best we can, and then we hope that we get a champion that steps up and shows us a path, like Listen, Learn, and Lead did with the Black community.
What? There's all this stuff. There's all this like lore and backstory to this this town's DEI programs that I just practically incomprehensible.
I wasn't going to say there it goes. I
Uh-oh.
wasn't going to say anything, but since what I wrote down was, how can we talk about what we've done for people of all abilities and income levels? And since you both just mentioned both of those, I thought I would just, chime in really quickly. For me, with the all abilities, it's and the belonging that we have. It's about that really it filters across all of our departments. Certainly in parks, I love that we're looking at the parks with that it can accommodate all abilities without really kind of segregating them to you on one side and you on the other. It's blending them together.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to talk about any kind of segregation here when we're splitting everybody up on the basis of race, and that's where we're putting our quotas and our goals on. Or gender in the case of band front persons. But I feel there's a but coming.
I think that's really a beautiful concept.
But
also when we're talking about transportation and everything that we're doing with the expansion of the trail system, and looking at equitable mobility whenever we're designing streets, to make it, we've got to consider all modes of transportation.
All modes of transportation? Like, bus, car, velocipede, Totoro.
And we're doing that. I'm really, really proud of where we're going with all of that, that we're going to be designing our streets with all modes in mind, so that if you're not in a car, because not everybody can be in a car, either for economic reasons, or maybe they have a physical ability that, with their eyes or whatever, for some reason they can't drive.
I'm honestly curious to know what she's talking about, because I'm just thinking, okay, you've got your feet. Of course, it would maybe wheelchair access, bike, car, bus. What, scooter? Okay, sure. Scooter, motorcycle. All right. What is she talking about? What does an open strip of asphalt not accommodate in most people, and a sidewalk on either side?
And if that's not you today, it could be one day. So
what are you talking about?
I love that we are creating environments that are not hostile to any mode of transportation.
What? Okay, I know I'm not going to get an answer. Well, I would hope so. We're at a city council meeting with details and things, but what modes of transportation are excluded from, I don't know, classic street sidewalk configuration? What are you talking about? I mean, like having a bike lane? Is that it? Like, what do you mean?
And just to change that mindset of it's not just about cars. And then also what we've done with the public transportation and working with DCTA, maybe TJ would have better numbers on that, but with the GO zone and the increase that we've of accessibility to public transportation that we've had in the city within the last 2 years with the introduction of the GO zone, and the percentage that had access to it before versus what we have now.
I know that, they're talking about things that everybody there has some kind of common colloquial knowledge about, so I'm not going to get any details on it, but still at the same time, just like, what do you mean? Like public access to public transportation? Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, like wheelchair lifts into public buses or other such accommodations. Yeah, sure. And I think I'm happy to be corrected. I think a lot of this stuff, or what she's referring to, I think, kind of falls at least within, in broad terms or otherwise, the Americans with Disabilities Act. and obviously any subsequent state laws or regulations that extend off of that. So, okay, I love they gave some examples or something, but I'll just assume wheelchair access or something.
So, and I'm glad you brought up ability diversity and economic diversity. I probably should have squeezed in one more bullet. With ability diversity, we've taken some steps. If you've been at recent
Taken some steps. That sounds awfully ableist of you, young man.
groundbreaking ribbon cuttings, you've probably seen we have an ASL interpreter. That's not something that was requested. And so far, I've asked the interpreters, they've not seen anybody like watching them intently. They know when people are watching them. And they said they've not seen it yet. I said, well, they'll show up.
Yeah, those deaf people are coming. They are coming.
We'll keep telling people it's there, they'll show up. And we are really just probably one flip of a switch away from having closed captioning on our cable channel. We're trying to get a piece of equipment working with one of the cable companies, and then we'll have closed captioning. Again, something not requested, not required, but it's the right thing to do.
Okay, sure. If that's the kind of accessibility you're talking about, like trying to, accommodate people in that way, shape, or form for communication, like, all right, that's fine. I mean, at least that is addressing something about ability and or limitation of ability, rather than focusing in on whether or not the front person of the bands we're bringing on are of the right color.
In terms of economic diversity, this council for the past 20 years has made clear that as often as possible, our special events should be free for the public to attend.
Okay.
And with the exception of Western days after 5 o'clock, they are.
Okay, that sounds like something that is actually positively equitable.
And if you have to show up before 5 o'clock, Western days is free to attend also. That can make it a challenge sometimes to grow events to like a regional or state type of status. But if you're trying to serve the community, keeping it free makes it economically viable for all populations.
Yes, free is a good price.
So we've been aware of that as well.
Except it's not really free, right? I mean, it's being subsidized by taxpayer money and or donations and things. So it's, I mean, the public's paying for some portion of all of this.
Well,
I just want to bring something to mind because I'm very excited about this. I know it's going to be a while down the road.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about different abilities,
Yes.
The master plan at the lake, once instituted, it will finally, and I say finally, give those in our city and surrounding areas.
Oh, the suspense is killing me, guys. This is so dramatic. What's the master plan?
The ability to just go and fish.
Okay. This is why I would love to have some more context. All right. What is currently preventing people from going to fish? It's like boat ramp access or something else. I could imagine a whole bunch of options or scenarios, but what insofar as ability / access is preventing people from fishing right now?
Because you can't do that now with
Why?
any mobility issues safely.
Okay, so I'm going to guess it's like ramp access or something, if they're not going to tell us otherwise.
And this will be one of the first times that I know of in the history of Lewisville that you can go out on a pier and you can fish and you can be with your family. And that's huge.
What was preventing anyone from going out on I mean, like hand railings? If it's just a pier without any kind of barrier, somebody could roll or slip off or something. Is that what you mean? And I know I'm asking rhetorically, but all the same.
It's huge.
It was not a concern when the lake was built back in the 50s. It's definitely an issue today.
Yeah.
Wow, imagine that. Okay.
I just want to quickly jump in and just give kudos to staff for, first off, I love the name Jedi for obvious reasons.
I do too, boy, oh boy. So did a bunch of other people. Oh, just wait till Scientific American comes after you, though.
To drive the mayor crazy.
Sorry.
But
crazy is not a drive for me. It's a short walk.
Hi-oh! Well, hey, I can appreciate a good joke. There you go, Mr. Mayor.
But I want to commend you and just kind of just reiterate for people who may be watching, who have questions. We've had people who've come and had issues with diversity, equity, inclusion, and
Yeah, I'm one of those people. All right, so tell me, reassure me.
I love belonging because that's a piece you can be in a place but not feel like you belong there.
You love belonging. Great. Can you have belonging without splitting up your population on the basis of race and deciding who gets to attend events or perform at events on the basis of their race? Can you not do that? I mean, it's these little things. It might not be the overarching theme, but it's these little things that you guys are completely cool with that make me go, eh.
It's about people. It's about people looking in their community and looking at the people who represent them that looks like them.
Yes, you're right. You're right. It is resolving everyone down to appearance. Looks like them. Belonging.
I always think back to there was a time when there were no women city managers, not because they couldn't do the job, because nobody thought about it.
Or they didn't want to.
So it's important that people see people who look like them so they can dream to do those things.
Right. Because everybody's inherently sexist, racist, or anything else. And if they don't see someone that looks like them, obviously they don't belong there. Okay.
And so I commend the staff for the work that we've done. The Listen, Learn, Lead has been fantastic, and we've taken a lot of great things away from it. I would just say, progress over perfection. We'll never get it 100% right.
Not at this rate, you won't.
And for people who say, oh, well, the city's not doing this, well, communicate to us, let us know what we're doing, and we can work with the community to try to add more to it.
Okay, well, here's what you're doing. You're putting visual representation over personal merit. At least most explicitly and best exemplified in your front person of band process, but as well with the sentiment you just voiced. Seeing is believing. So surface level attributes are what are important first and foremost. Yeah, this is the insidious nature of DEI. You can have a whole bunch of things combined that sound good and maybe some things that are actually, positive or productive. Making sure that everyone has physical access to city resources or city facilities. Perfectly fine, right? There's federal law about that. Makes perfect sense. But then you weave that along with, but also visual representation, and we have to have a percentage quota of the kinds of people that show up at these events, and yay. It's all very Trojan horse. It's all very insidious.
Thank you, Councilman. And I would probably pass those kudos straight through us down to the residents of this city. There's an interesting phenomenon you'll see on social media. Somebody will post an angry comment that is derisive towards some cultural group, and immediately they are bombarded by other residents that say, no, that's not Lewisville. I think, Councilman, you had the chance at the YAC conference to meet the Mayor Pro Tem of Port Arthur. I know.
Okay, well, yeah, somebody says a nasty comment about a particular ethnic group or something. Yeah, sure. Well, what if I said Lewisville is actively promoting racism and discrimination in its public activities? Because that is Lewisville. Lewisville city government is promoting racially discriminatory practices in its events and its hiring. I would not be incorrect in saying that because you guys have just told us that. So what exactly is Lewisville then?
I think, Councilman, you had the chance at the YAC conference to meet the Mayor Pro Tem of Port Arthur. I know Mayor Gilmore did. And we were talking about DEI initiatives, and she said, how in the world have you gotten your people not to be angry that you're doing these things? And that, frankly, with our population, they'd be angry if we didn't.
Really? All right, if you say so.
That's just the community that we have here. We celebrate it.
So just our final slide here, and then, oh, please go ahead.
Lots of great comments around this. So
Yeah.
a couple of things I wanted to, I love belonging being put in here as well. We have a Smiley Center going out in Castle Hills.
Everybody loves belonging, guys. Belonging. Adding that B, I tell you, it just changes the whole equation.
And then that I've gotten some emails about this.
Uh-huh.
They belong and they feel like they belong, and we're going to continue to fight for that sort of thing. It's a great example of the belonging. So I love that it's in here. Can we go back to slide 24? Is that possible, real quick?
Okay.
So a lot of times when people hear diversity, equity, inclusion, they think immediately of percentage goals.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Why is it? Why is it when we talk about DEI, we talk about percentage goals? I don't know. Maybe it's because you guys talked about percentage goals. Yes. All right. I don't know what he's going to say next. But if he's about to try to give some kind of counterclaim to the idea that percentage goals, especially on the basis of racial demographics, is somehow a misnomer or a myth or something, he brings up the slide with the racial percentages of population to employment and then to promotion and hiring. Not to mention again, but I will, the front persons of bands. But okay, yes, when people hear DEI, they often think about percentile goals. Let me back up a little bit just so I don't inadvertently cut them off. And
real quick. So a lot of times when people hear diversity, equity, and inclusion, they think immediately of percentage goals. And that's not what this is trying to say, right? We're just looking at this. No, guys. We swears. We're not talking about racial quotas. We absolutely swears it. Now, don't mind the graphs on the very slide you pulled up that split up the entire purpose of Jedi goals in employment on the basis of race. We're measuring success on the percentage employment on the basis of race, but we're not talking about percentage goals here. No, of course not. These aren't illegal quotas that we're putting out into the public square. No. These are just aspirational diversity goals. I really hope he says aspirational goals. I really hope he uses that phrase. That hasn't been used, I think, in any great strain since the counter letter from the Democratic attorneys general to the Republican attorneys general talking about the likely illegality of the activities of DEI initiatives. Thank you, Derek Lure. Holy, you guys. Hey, you guys. If you know that reference, you're an old person like me. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. I mean, all of you showing up, donating, supporting, But Derek LaRue, thank you so much as always for your amazing support and generosity. I don't know what to say. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Sunday, good Easter if Easter is your thing, and you have a good weekend and you enjoy the show. And like I say, I'll pay that forward. Let's see. Advocatus Diaboli got it right the first time because Goonies was making a reference to the electric company, but both are correct answers. So that's perfectly fine. Also, electric companies where Spider-Man, I believe, appeared for the first time in physical form. That was before the TV movies where, what was his name? Hammond? Was it Nick Hammond? He was one of the kids from Sound of Music. I think it was Nicholas Hammond. If that's not the actor's name, then I apologize. It's the name that came to my mind. But there was some TV movies back in the 70s that I loved to see replayed when I was a kid. I remember one of the songs, like the tune when he's like crawling up the walls. It was like Spider-Man like crawling around. I'm really showing my age, but there you go. Anyway, so let me go backwards in the order of operations here. Yeah, so electric company or Goonies, perfectly fine. Derek LaRue, thank you so much. Back to, these are not percentage goals. That's not what we're talking about. No. And everybody's like, no. These aren't quotas. Guys, these aren't racial quotas. We swears these aren't racial quotas.
Can we go back to slide 24? Is that
All right.
possible real quick?
Sorry for the repetition. I jumped too far. But either way, just for clarity's sake.
So a lot of times when people hear diversity, equity, and inclusion, they think immediately of percentage goals. And that's not what this is trying to say, right? We're just looking at this. So good. So that's
sir. This is just a reflection. It's showing where we're at.
It's showing where we're at. You guys have already given this away, okay? You're saying this is current data and you're going to do better. You're saying this is where we're at and progress is being made. If the split up of employment on the basis of race on this slide is not a marker of where you're at versus where you want to be, and that is the metric you are using, race, then you're talking about percentile racial quotas and racial goals. Okay. I didn't know in the course of this presentation if we'd ever get to something so clear cut as far as hypocrisy. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying that if you start setting percentile goals for employment on the basis of race, especially in city government, I'd say you are treading very close, if not stepping over the line, into illegality. But since I don't know the ends-all be-alls, I'll just say that it's more likely than not assured. But don't pretend that that's not what you're doing. That is so lame. That is so dumb. You must think, and maybe you do, that everyone in that room and anybody watching this is an absolute moron.
Long, so I love that it's in here. Can we go back to
Sorry,
slide
I keep
24? Is that
doing
possible real quick?
that. I don't know why I keep repeating the same section over and over again. I apologize. It's a complete mistake on my part. Well, just bear with me.
So a lot of times when people hear diversity, equity, and inclusion, they think immediately of percentage goals, and that's not what this is trying to say, right? We're just looking at this. So good. So that's
sir. This is just a reflection. It's showing where we're at, and I'm just indicating to you directionally what's happening. But no, there's no specific expectations.
Yeah, there's no specific expectations. 30% women and people of color. I mean, that's not with employment. That's with public events and bringing on bands. I'm sure that kind of philosophy has not found its way into any other function of our city government. And I don't know why we have charts on the board there that splits everybody up on the basis of race next to justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, goals, employees. I'm sure that headline plus the charts next to it are just a random accident. For crying out, like, God, this is so oh my gosh, holy cats. Matthew James, thank you so much. And this tells me, let's celebrate your first super on a live stream. Well, thank you, Matthew. That's very generous of you, and I appreciate that. I've been lurking for a couple of years and slowly becoming more active. Thank you for years of quality content. Years. Well, Matthew, I appreciate not only the generosity, I appreciate the long-term support, lurking or otherwise. I appreciate my lurkers. You know, I don't always make myself known publicly in streams that I'm watching or things. I have a little, even to this point, I have a little social anxiety when it comes to chatting too much in live streams and things. Sometimes I just watch to watch and don't get too involved, but I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much, and appreciate that I'm your first. I'm your first donation. Thank you. And as I say, especially today and earlier this week with the everyone's generosity, I'm paying it forward. And just as a note, sometimes I advertise donations that I've made to different places on Twitter or otherwise, especially if it's like an organization that I have a particular affinity for one purpose or another. Oftentimes donations I keep private, you know, so as to not to toot my own horn or otherwise, make too much of a deal out of it. But rest assured, your generosity does not go unheeded or unpaid forward as I'm able. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you, Matthew James. I have social anxiety as well. Well, then extra thanks, because I know how difficult it is to cross that little invisible barrier sometimes, to step out, say something, joke around, whatever else. But if you've been here for years, then hopefully you know that everybody in chat, this is for moderators of a chat. I would venture to say that being a moderator on my channel is probably one of the easiest jobs, if you want to call it that, on YouTube, and that everybody here is remarkably generous and supportive to one another, both in just conversation and otherwise. Matthew, are you a member of the Discord? If you're not a member of the Discord, I think you should become a member of the Discord. Even if you're only going to lurk, I think you should. If you're not already, well, there'll be a link shortly as we reach near on the end of not only the presentation, but also the show for the day. So thank you, Matthew. All right. So, right. These aren't goals, guys, even though the slide says so. We're not measuring people on the basis of race, even though we have two charts that say so. We're not discriminating or setting any kind of quotas, even though we've explicitly already said that we do. It's totally not that.
I love that, because this can be correlated but not causally related. There can be things beyond implicit bias that causes this sort of thing to happen. So I think this is an important point to drive home for people that are listening, that these are not goals. We look at it and we take that as an input, but this is not, we don't feel the need. We're not driving toward exact representation across these different groups.
It says goals, employees, and then racial split. I can only imagine the level of paranoia in our current speaker right now, because he knows what's up. He knows not only how this looks, but how this is working. No, guys, do not believe what we've shown you. Are you going to trust me or your lying eyes?
That's right. Okay. That's exactly correct. And bottom line, we want to hire the best people for each job.
If you wanted to hire the best people for each job, then those charts would be showing number of college graduates versus number of high school graduates versus number of tradespersons graduates or something. Nothing you are showing us on that particular slide has anything to do with merit. Nothing. No, like what's in the box? Do you want the red snapper or what's in the box? Okay. You picked the box of merit, and there's nothing in there. Oh, we get so much praise for our taking names off of applications thing. By the way, let me then tell you about our racial split.
But this just gives us a chance to view it from a particular lens and just make sure we're considerate of who all is here. But yeah.
You can't escape it. You can't escape it. No. It's just there. It's like it's sort of like one of those little like Febreze plug-in things. It's just kind of in the background. It's just a thing. Don't pay attention. It's got nothing to do with anything. It doesn't actually do anything. We're not bringing up the racial divisions in employment versus residency and city government here. It's not. We're not using it as a guidepost or nothing. No, we don't have any goals based around this. We're not measuring success or anything by putting up these charts based on hiring and promotion divided by race on a slide that says goals for employees. No. This one little portion is totally worth all the rest of it. All the other nonsense, this right here, because the longer you get someone promoting DEI talking, the longer you get them talking, eventually they are going to trip over themselves because it is unavoidable. The root rot with DEI is unavoidable if you have someone promoting it, talking long enough, because you can't escape it. You can't escape it. I am so glad that city council person, whoever on the end there, decided to try to play cover and try to CYA the entire town because he saw the problem. This is the thing. When this slide first came up, he knew what that looked like. He knew what that was saying. And so he had to bring them back to it to like, but guys, we're not actually saying what that thing says, right?
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Thank you.
So the last slide we had on this is just looking ahead. I think the broad theme of this slide, and I appreciate all the comments y'all have already made, but it's generally a continuation. It's continuation of our existing efforts around our hiring practices.
Your hiring practices, which have nothing to do with race, by the way, despite everything that you've said prior to this. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Quote, "We want to hire the best people for the jobs, as long as they meet a quota." Oops, did I say that out loud? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That was amazing. I think that was the best part of this whole thing so far. That was great. That was great. Even that guy, that one guy on the panel, even he could not deny the obvious message being sent through their own material and had to circle back to try to run cover for it, try to do damage control. Because this is a public broadcast to not only the city of Lewisville, but the world. And what is Lewisville doing? What are Lewisville values? Well, the values are in the percentiles of race.
Around affordable housing, which you had a lot of thorough discussion on a few minutes ago. We have upcoming the opening of Parque La Gloria, and James's team is doing great work. I love all the comments y'all made across our organization, and so we want to continue that good work.
Mm-hmm.
One point to mention here that Stacy had shared, the Lewisville Park Alliance they're going to work this year the intention is to work this year to establish a support program for residents who can't afford access to park services. And then we'll continue our work with the DEI internally with the DEI&B team, folding it into the WAY team and making that a great marriage and even more impactful in the future.
Yeah. Okay. As soon as you guys, the first bullet point for those of you listening at home, first bullet point is continuation of hiring and recruiting practices recommended by the Mayor's Commission. Listen, learn, lead, which is just some kind of, I don't know, concurrent outgrowth of a DEI philosophy. So anyway, the only slide we've been presented about listen, learn, lead had everything broken down by racial demographic. So if you're going to continue the hiring and recruiting practices and promotion practices, as we saw, of listen, learn, lead, i.e. DEI, i.e. DEIB, i.e. Jedi, IIEEIEIO, it's all sour. It's all tainted. Continuation of any of this stuff is wrong.
So those are our talking points. Wanted to turn it back to you all and really just ask the question, in addition to the feedback you already gave, do you think we're headed in the right direction?
No.
Do y'all have any further feedback?
You're not headed in the right direction. You're taking everything backwards. You've woven in probably good utility initiatives insofar as access. So if you're talking about ASL, if you're talking about wheelchair ramps, if you're talking about other things that allow people to take part in public parks and things like that, okay, fine, great. Accessibility in so many forms is probably the one thing I've seen added to some DEI initiatives that is by itself, for the most part, completely reasonable. Because you're just talking about people being able to use the facilities and or the opportunities that are available to them, without any, taking away any reasonable restrictions based on your ability to hear, your ability to see, your ability to move around. Perfectly fine. Again, Americans with Disabilities Act. Look at that. But just it's sort of like ERGs always listing veterans last, as though that somehow indemnifies any criticism of the whole idea of ERGs, right? So we have these DEI, Jedi, Debbie goals and things that are utterly and absolutely discriminatory and legally questionable at best, but we also have things that are completely reasonable. Okay, the latter is not a panacea for the former. As much as you want it to be, it doesn't forgive or excuse all the other nonsense. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll just say, keep it up. I think we're doing I like what we're doing, and
I feel sorry for you if you think you're doing good stuff here.
just keep going.
Okay, great. Thanks for the pep talk.
Yeah, I think I'd echo the same sentiments. I'd definitely like to see, I love the data. I'd like to see the data.
Oh, the data, the racial split of your employees versus residents.
I also wanted to say previously too, I went to Fiesta Chara this year, thoroughly enjoyed it. A little rainy, but I think you'll see that event grow more than the 2,400 from when I was there. I particularly enjoyed the jalapeno eating contest. That was interesting.
Watch out for those ghost peppers.
But yeah, keep up what we're doing.
Okay.
I'll say the blinding of the names on job applications.
Oh yeah, the blinding of the names on job applications. By the way, have you seen our racial demographics of employees?
I hadn't really considered that before, and I was a little skeptical when I first heard about that. But the results that we see that came out of that prove otherwise.
What results? What results did you see that came out of that? Because the only thing that I've been shown so far after that was mentioned was the racial split slide. What were the results? How did you measure success? Because as far as I could tell, the way that the narrative was presented to us, they talked about taking names off of job applications, and then they immediately thereafter went to the slide showing race. So what do you call success? What do you call the outcomes from that as a good thing? And how do you measure that?
I would love to see that sort of thing also trickle down into things like grant programs and things like that. If we have potential for implicit bias in hiring, I don't know why we don't think we would also have potential for implicit bias in our grant programs and other things as well. But
I don't know. Are your grant programs based on race and or gender? I mean, what are the prerequisites for attaining a grant or several different grants? It's pretty easy. Is it based on anything other than merit? Because if it's based on anything other than merit, then there you go.
Something we've talked about before, but I just want to take another chance to bring that up.
Yeah, great point there. If it's working in one space, let's see if we can replicate it in others. Love what we're doing.
I'm glad you do, Mr. Mayor.
I love that it's becoming just part of who we are.
yeah, it's becoming part of who you are, bit by bit, day by day. Racial and sexual discrimination.
And it's not a trying to fill a quota or those kinds of things. It's just we're doing the right thing to get the best people and the best mix for our community. I love the shift to a belonging because there have been places where I haven't belonged.
Yeah, okay.
And I think we all have experienced that in some way or another. And so we find the opportunities for that. So I would encourage that focus for the coming year. I would love to see how we can get more engagement with our Hispanic community. They're such a large chunk. And I understand a lot of the reasons why. But
what are the reasons why? I'd love to know what he thinks the reasons why are.
Whatever we can continue to do to kind of put a foot on that gas pedal would be great. Also, one last thing, and then I think we can move on, is that you really had the opportunity to use infinite diversity in infinite combinations, which was Star Trek's diversity model instead of Jedi. And now we'll move on.
Oh, we got a Trekkie. Oh, the mayor's a Trekkie. Oh my gosh. He's a Trekkie. He'd rather have the infinite diversity of Star Trek. Okay, well, there you go, everybody. There you go. The Jedi Council of Lewisville, Texas. Totally not quotas, guys. That should be the town motto. Now, welcome to Lewisville, Texas. Totally not quotas, guys. But there you are. I was curious to see what the modern Jedi Council would have to say, and I was not disappointed. Well, I mean, I was disappointed, but I was not surprised, I suppose I should say. Thank you, Kiro Soldier, for the #1 Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wowie, wow, wow.
That is a shadow clawed dog cat fox. A little creepy dog cat fox, but a dog cat fox nonetheless. Thank you, Kiro Soldier. Appreciate it very much. Hope you enjoyed the show. But there you go. That's that is the Jedi Council or City Council Jedi program from Lewisville, Texas. And the highlight of the entire thing is pay no attention to the discrimination behind the curtain. Not even behind the curtain. It was right there. That was amazing. But this is Lewisville. This is Lewisville. Measuring success, melanin count one at a time. But it'll take a couple seconds here for anything you guys want to say. If you have any comments you'd like to put in the chat, I will try to get to them. In the meantime, before we get to those, the Discord server. Did you know I have a Discord server? Would you like to join the Discord server if you haven't already? Matthew James, would you like to join the Discord server if you haven't already? Well, there's a link there in the chat. The Discord server, you click on that, you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word tells me that A, you're not a bot, and B, you actually watch the show and have earned the right, the privilege, and the entitlement to join the Discord servers. Just click on that and just say hello. Oh, what's a good word? What's a secret word for this one? Hello, quota. Say hello, quota. And I'll know that you watch the show and can join the Discord servers. There you go. Let's see. Genty Max says, I hope they get their own Tiffany Henyard. Okay, I don't know who Tiffany Henyard is. You'll have to enlighten me on that one, Jen. Is that a Canadian reference? Maybe it is. Jen is from the Great White North, and all of that, and all that implies. Also, 1 Ton Hammer's here. 1 Ton Hammer. Hey, Hammer, how's it going? And let's see, anything else? Chicago Mike, are they saying they need to hire more Vulcans? Probably. If the mayor had his way, there'd be like Vulcan female advisors everywhere for reasons. Efficacy, the Sith are looking more and more attractive by the day. I know. Scientific American might have had a point, except that their whole point wasn't actually to go against the whole DEI thing. Just that's the bad branding, guys. I'm assuming then that the mayor would be on Scientific American's side. Genty Maxi, look that one up. Oh no, it's a mayor from one of your town. One of our towns. All right, I'll have to look that one up. But with that, everybody, I'm going to wrap it up here. We're at the hour and a half mark, or just a little bit over. So programming note, as always, you'll find me here Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for TED Excellence, where I take a look at off-brand TEDx talks. Or actually, what would be an off-brand TEDx talk? Would that be like a TEDxZ or something? No, but off-brand TED Talks, sometimes actual TED Talks. Library of that is all in my channel as well, playlists and always. Let's see, anything else that's coming up? Not that I know of. I won't be on Midnight's Edge After Dark tonight. In fact, I'm not quite sure they're doing a show tonight. I think the Easter holiday has taken most of the panelists and made them busy, but either way. Let's see. Oh, also, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, not worth your money. Stay away from it. I'm not even sure it's worth a rental. It was just a big smorgasbord of boring, nothing, confusing, badly written, blah. But that's just my mini review. But beyond that, I'm just trying to think if I forgot anything. I don't think I forgot anything. Sometimes I do, but I don't think this time. Oh, I did forget to say hi to Payar DBayar. Also, meh. And Q Continuum, speaking of Star Trek. Anybody else that I have a hello to? Oh, TC, hello. Anybody else that I spot here? Darren Root, good morning. And I think if I missed anybody who said something in the chat earlier, otherwise I apologize, but we are at the end. So moderators, as I said before, thank you guys so much for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, I do not have the words. You guys are so ridiculously generous, and I will do my best to pay that forward. Your generosity in both word and deed. Thank you so much for donating, either to myself or to the GoFundMe's pinned to the top of the chat box. Thank you guys for taking a look at those. And also share those out on social media if you're able to. That is appreciated. Everyone else, Thank you for joining me. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday and weekend. Have a happy Easter for those of you that celebrate. And for those of you that don't, take advantage of the chocolate bunnies in, I assume they're available. I haven't gotten one myself yet, but maybe I will after the show. With all that babbling out of the side after being overwhelmed by your generosity and this stream, hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.